Very good. The laws of the Holy Temple. Okay, we talked about yesterday about the stones, especially the stones that were in the temple, how they had to be, and that the metal wasn't supposed to touch them, and etc. All right, now we're going to talk about the main thing of the Holy Temple. There's a different opinion about what was the main thing in the Holy Temple. Was the main thing the tablets, which is certainly true. There always has to be the tablets. Even in the second temple, the tablets were hidden down deep, but the tablets were there. They were hidden down in these deep chambers that King Solomon made. Or maybe the main thing was the altar. The altar, the outer altar, that was where the sacrifices were made. So the Rambam seems to indicate that the altar was the main thing. So let's look. Let's have a look. The place of the altar was very, very exact. Makom mekuven biyoter. It was very, very exact. So maybe we can make this a little bigger here. Oh, too big. Too big. The Mizbeach, its place was very exact. Makomo makuvan biyoter was very exact. The Ein Mishanim Oto, you can never change that place from one for where it is forever. Shnei Amar, like it says, V'zeh Mizbeach la'ola l'Yisrael. This is the altar for the sacrifices for the Jewish people. This is in the book of Chronicles. Mikdash, in this holy temple, this place of the altar was the exact place where Abraham took Yitzchak to sacrifice him. Shnei Amar, like it says, Lech lechal eretz Amoria. And it also says in the book of Chronicles, second book of Chronicles, that King Solomon built the holy temple on the mountain of Moriah. Same place where Yitzchak was. Umasura biyad akol, and this was given over from generation to generation. Shamakom Shabana Bo David, that the place where King David and Solomon built the altar in the Goran Aravna, they bought it from him. Hua Makom, this is also the place that Abraham built this altar and sacrificed on it Yitzchak. And this is the place where Noach built his altar. Several hundred years before Abraham. Kishiyatzim in a table when he came out of the ark. And this was the same altar which, like 1,000 whatever years earlier, Shikriv alav Kayan vehevel, right there in the beginning of the creation. And this was the place where Adam, the first man, he also sacrificed his sacrifice when he was created. Can't be anything before that, right? Well, not exactly. From this place where the altar is, where Abraham made the Akedah, took his son, and where Noach, and where Cain and Abel, and where Adam sacrificed, this is the place that Adam was created from, the dirt here. Sham, Nivra, Adam was made from dirt, right? It says, Adam mina Adama. It says, Adam mimach, that man from the place of his forgiveness, right, that brought his forgiveness for sin, that's where he was created. In other words, to remind Adam that he was just made from dirt. Makom Mizbech, this place was Mekuven Harbeh, was very, very exact. V'tzuroto Yadua, and its shape was known, Ish mi Ish, from one person to another. Umizbech Shabano B'nei Agola, and the altar that was built in the second temple, the people that came out from Babylon, Ka'ayin Mizbeach Sha'atid is something like the altar which will be built in the third temple. Ve'ein lahosif al midato. You're not allowed to add on to the measure or to take away from it. What are the measures? We'll see. So now we're talking about the altar. Now, this altar is very important. A normal person will think, what in the world does this have to do with Judaism? I mean, what are we sacrificing animals? And not only that, The third temple, we're praying for the third temple all the time. Shi'abana Beit HaMikdash. Mashiach is going to come, and he'll build the Beis HaMikdash. The Beis HaMikdash will fall from heaven. But the main thing, the holy temple, why? So we can make the sacrifices. It's such an amazing thing to make the sacrifices. Yes, it is. Because basically, we've talked about this a lot of times. The sacrifices were a commandment, like any other commandment. Like putting on tefillin or putting a mezuzah on your door. It was a commandment. But it was a commandment that was done live, very dynamic. It took energy from this world, the creation, and elevated it to the Creator, exactly the way God wanted. Had to be very exact. And not only the process of the sacrifice had to be exact, even the altar had to be very exact. There were 3 Nevi'im. There were 3 prophets that came up with the Jewish people from the exile. Right? After the temple was destroyed, so the Jewish people were in exile for 70 years. They came back, and there was Malachi, Haggai, Malachi, and Zechariah. The 3 prophets came up with them. One of them prophesied. These were the Anshe Knesset HaGadol. One of them, He'id, gave testimony on the place where the altar was. One of them gave testimony on the measurements. And one of them gave testimony, and it was from God. And said you can. He okayed it that you can sacrifice on this altar all of the sacrifices, and that you can sacrifice even if there is no holy temple. And the main thing was the altar, even though there's no holy temple. And it seems that that's what the Rambam holds, that nowadays you can also, even though the Rambam does not hold it, you can actually go up there. But if you could refine yourself, purify yourself, whatever, you could make sacrifices. The altar is super important. Mizbech Shasa Moshe, the altar that Moses made and that King Solomon made, and that was made in the second temple, Bnei Agola, in the time of Ezra, and the altar that the Melech Mashiach is going to make, that's going to be made, all of them are 10 amas high. 10 amas is about 15 feet. Each one of them, that what it says in the Torah, that it's only going to be 3 amas. This is the Makom Maracha. It's talking about the place of the Maracha alone. And I want to show you a picture of this, and then we're going to go Bilavad. Umizbeach she'asa b'nei Agola, the altar that was made by the Jews that came from Babylon, Ezra and Nehemiah and Zerubbabel, and all these 3 prophets, was Haggai and Zechariah. The Kain Atid, and the one that's going to be built, it is 32 amas on 32 amas. That's the length and the width. So how do we say how high is it supposed to be? 10 amas high. All right, let's see if I can find a picture of the altar, and then we'll see. We'll do this just in one minute. These 10 amas, some of them are an amma that it is 5 tefachs. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes the amma is usually, an amma means like from here to here, that's what it is. But sometimes it's measured 5, and sometimes it's measured 6. And the other amas of the binyan, but that's only in the altar. Does it change that way? Sometimes when it says make this 3 amas, make this 4 amas, the amas are not exactly the same. But everywhere else in the whole entire temple, it's always 6 tefachim. Altogether, the height of the whole entire Mizbeach, it's 10 amas. Okay, if those 10 amas were all 6 tefachim, then it should be 60 tefachim high, right? Each amma is 10. Each amma is 6 tefachim. The whole entire holy temple, when it says an amma, it means 6 tefachim. But in the Mizbeach, it doesn't always mean 6 tefachim. Because if it did, then the altar would be 60 tefachim high, and it's not. It's only 58. And we'll see what exactly it was. But let's just have, maybe I can find it a little bit, and let's take a little look over here. 1 second. Let's see if this works. If it doesn't work, then it won't work. Here we go. Oh. See, here we go. Very good. Here we got the picture. Look at this. Yes. This is the measurement of the thing. From here to here, from the bottom to the top, was what we call 10 amas. Sometimes these amas, most of them were measured 6 tefachim, like all the other amas in the Holy Temple. But sometimes the measurement was only 5 tefachim. 2 of them were only measured. Here, this is it. See? So the altar went like this. Very good. Baruch Hashem. Went like this, from the bottom to the top. This is where the place where the sacrifices were burnt. But it went up like to the top. And there was the ramp. The ramp came off over here. So we'll talk about this. And God willing, we'll talk about this next time. Now let us learn. I'm not going to turn this off and go back, because last time I did this, I lost the whole thing. We are we going to? Yes. Here we go. Let's go, rabbis. The laws of Tisha B'Av. If it falls on Shabbos this year, now if Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbos, you don't fast on Shabbos. Only if Yom Kippur. If Yom Kippur falls on Shabbos, then you fast on Shabbat. But we never fast on Shabbat. There's no time we ever fast on Shabbat except for Yom Kippur. So if Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, which this year it doesn't anyway, but it comes out the same thing as if it did. And it was if Tisha B'Av this year falls out Motzi Shabbat. Motzi Shabbat, you start the fast. If Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbat, it's the same thing. You fast Motzi Shabbat. So let's do 1 or 2 laws over here. Not too many laws anyway. Tisha B'Av that falls to be on Sunday, or it happens on Shabbos and it's pushed off to Sunday. You eat on Shabbos meat, you drink wine, even on the 3rd meal after Mincha, which usually in the middle of the week of Tisha B'Av, you eat the Suda Mafsekas, you sit on the floor, right? You eat an egg. But this year you don't do it. This year, even right before Tisha B'Av, it's permissible to do everything, meat, wine. But try not to sit then in the 3rd meal with a bunch of friends. If there's a bris milah, you can make the meal before mincha, but it's permissible to eat with your family. And you can make a blessing with a zimun, which usually you're not supposed to do in the hours right before Tisha B'Av. You're not supposed to sit in a group or make blessings together after eating. But you shouldn't eat up right until the last minute. You should try to stop the meal because as soon as it starts to get dark, it's forbidden to eat and drink and etc. But your shoes you don't have to take off until after Boruchu in the synagogue. And the Shliach Tzibur takes this. So a lot of people, what they do is they take sandals or gym shoes or whatever they do, because on Tisha B'Av it's forbidden to wear leather shoes. So some people take their shoes and they bring them to synagogue. They're gym shoes. And then after Boruchu signifies the end of Shabbat. The Boruchu means for the evening prayer. Then they change their shoes. In any case, the Shliach Tzibur, the one who is leading the congregation, he should take off his shoes. The night of Shabbos. Okay, this is not for us. We say Ava Rachaman, all right, in the morning. Tisha B'Av that falls on Shabbat, you should not learn Torah. This is not relevant to us. Not for us. Before evening, Ein Omrim Lam Natseach bin Ginos. You don't say Vayi Noam. After Shabbos, we're talking about going into Tisha B'Av. You don't say Yehi Noam. You don't say Ata Kadosh. The prayers that you usually say Motzi Shabbos. You don't say Vayiten Lecha. You don't make the blessing. You don't bless your children. Some people bless their children, etc. We don't do that. Okay. Okay, when it gets dark, as soon as you see the candle, you make Bore More Ha'esh on Tisha B'Av itself. And in Shmona Esrei, you say Atan Chanantanu. The prayer that divides between, we're talking about after Shabbos, and now in the nighttime after Shabbos, it's Tisha B'Av. So you say the prayer Ata Chanantanu. But you don't make Havdalah on a cup. You don't make the Havdalah prayer. You say Borei Me'a'ish on a flame, but you don't make a blessing on it because you can do work. But you don't make Havdalah on a cup until Motzi Tisha B'Av. Because you might think you can make Havdalah on the cup and just not say Borei Pri Agafen and leave it until you don't. Motzi, in other words, Sunday night, that's when you'll say Havdalah. But you don't make a blessing not on the Besamim and not on Motzi. And when you do make Havdalah on Sunday night, then you don't make a blessing on the Besamim, on the spices, and not on the candle, because you already made the blessing on the candle before. Even if you forgot to make a blessing on Motzi Shabbos, you don't make a blessing on Sunday night when you make Havdalah. You have to warn your children, don't do any work until you do Havdalah. So you shouldn't, Motzi Shabbos, you have to be careful because you're not making Havdalah. And you have to warn your children that they should say, Bruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'chol. Because a lot of times the children will wait for you to make, because you're not allowed to really work Motzi Shabbat until you say a Mavdil Ben Kodesh L'chol. You have to say this. This is a general law you should know. In general, when Shabbat ends, you're not allowed to turn on the lights or do any of those things. You have to make Havdalah first. Either you make Havdalah when you pray, you say Atachon Antanu, or you listen to someone say Havdalah, or you just say Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'chol. 4 words. Baruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'chol, and then you can do work Motzei Shabbat, even a regular Motzei Shabbat in the course of the year. Tisha B'Av, that is, this is not for relevant to us. Okay, if there is a circumcision on Tisha B'Av and it's pushed off, a Tisha B'Av that has been pushed off, in other words, there was supposed to be there's a bris milah on Sunday. Right, a bris milah on Sunday. Sunday is Tisha B'Av. What are you supposed to do? It says the people, you can't push the bris milah off to another day. You have to do that. So therefore, the father of the son and the mother and the sandak, and they can pray mincha early, namely a half an hour after noon, and then it's permissible for them to make Havdalah. We don't do this. But a meal they shouldn't make until the nighttime. We don't do this. And also pidyon ben bismano. I'm sorry, we don't do this. Okay. Okay, so what do we learn? We learned that Tisha B'Av that falls out on Sunday, the main thing we learned is immediately Motzi Shabbat, you have to not eat. You should make Havdalah in prayer. And if you don't make it in prayer, you should say Bruch HaMavdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. That enables you to do work. And you should make a blessing on a Havdalah candle and say Borei Moreh Ha'Aish. But you don't make the actual Havdalah and drink a cup until Motzei Tisha B'Av. In other words, Sunday night. As we'll continue more with the laws of Tisha B'Av tomorrow. Have a good day with Moshiach now.